I'd like to do a quick introduction and move into this very special live question and answer with Medal of Honor recipient Gary Wetzel. I just want to welcome everybody for joining us today. I'm Dan Buttry. I serve as the president and CEO of the War Memorial Center here in Milwaukee. To commemorate National Medal of Honor Day today, we are chatting live with Medal of Honor recipient and Milwaukee native Gary G. Wetzel, who received the Medal of Honor for his actions on January 8th, 1968, while serving in the Vietnam War. I'm not going to read the full citation, but I'd like to just read a brief portion of his Medal of Honor citation. And I do encourage to please look up through the Medal of Honor Association website and others, the full citation. It is an incredible, incredible story. Specialist Wetzel, 173rd Air Assault Helicopter Company, distinguished himself by conspicuous gallantry and integrity at the risk of his own life, above and beyond the call of duty. Specialist Wetzel was serving as door gunner aboard a helicopter,
there it is.
which was part.
Just lagging. Okay.
Sia, you are not muted.
Yeah.
I'm hearing feedback. Wetzel was going to the aid of his aircraft commander when he was blown into a rice paddy and critically wounded by 2 enemy rockets that exploded just inches from his location. Although bleeding profusely due to the loss of his left arm and severe wounds in his right arm, chest, and left leg, Specialist Wetzel staggered back to his original position in his gun well and took the enemy forces under fire. His machine gun was the only weapon placing effective fire on the enemy at the time. And again, as I stated, you can read more of the full citation and see some of the photos of Gary G. Wetzel also on our Facebook page, War Memorial Center. So joining us today via Zoom are juniors and seniors in the 50s and 60s class at Marquette University High School. And I'll be asking Mr. Wetzel the questions that have been submitted. Also, there will be live chat questions that will be sent to me as we are going through the Q&A. And if we have time, we'll also take some of those additional. If we do run short of time, we'll also be taking those questions. As I understand, some students were unable to submit questions in advance. And we'll be doing, after the live feed, a recorded session with Gary, and he'll be addressing any of those questions that we're not unable to get to today. So Gary Wetzel, it's an absolute honor and pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today here at the War Memorial for this live Zoom feed of recognizing National Medal of Honor Day.
Thank you.
So the questions that were submitted, they're somewhat in a chronological phase. And so they go pre-Vietnam, Vietnam, and then Medal of Honor. So once you had received the medal. And so I think that's a nice way for us to go through these questions, if that sounds good with you. So the first one, Sam Barlow submitted, when growing up, did you know the military service was in your future?
No, I did not. But also growing up, both my parents served in World War II. So I was aware of somewhat of the military. My father belonged to the American Legion, and I got involved with things that he did.
So it was family, some exposure to
family, friends. That you're at home, and then you go to the Legion Hall, meet other people, other kids, and you kind of interact. And plus, I was in the Boy Scouts, so
yes,
I grew up kind of patriotic.
The community, right? It was all the part of the community. Thatcher Leclair, what was your high school life like?
It sucked. No, I'm kidding. High school. I wasn't that enthralled with it at that time. Now that you look back, it's like, no, we need that education, and I wish I would have got more. But high school was fun, and but you make it fun. I mean, we had our tough guys, our bullies, and stuff like that, and I guess it was part of life at that time.
Well, this group that you're talking today are, as I said, juniors and seniors at Marquette High. So they're, of course, the big part. And this would be the next question, which is a continuation from Thatcher Leclair on what kind of entertainment did you enjoy when you were our age, as he's saying, their age. So music, shows, radio, etc. So a little bit of the life that surrounded Gary G. Wetzel as a
Well,
junior.
kind of the area I grew up in, we kind of hung around with kids that were our age, but also at that era, that's when we started getting involved with rock and roll. So I liked a lot of the bands. I liked the music. I liked the beat. I could understand the words, and it was a lot of fun.
I'm curious. Any band in particular rise to the top?
You got Steppenwolf. You got Chicago. Heck, there's a bunch. There's just a bunch.
And these seniors and juniors are quickly tapping their iPhones, their smartphones right now, trying to figure out who is Steppenwolf in Chicago, other than a city in Illinois. Leo Avilia, what was your family's reaction when you told them you were going to Vietnam?
I think they were happy that I was getting out of the house. You got to realize I grew up with 9 brothers and sisters. I was the second oldest. And at that time in my life, you're either going to go to college or probably go get a job. Well, I decided to join the military and take it from there.
Yeah. Did you graduate at 18?
I didn't understand you.
Did you graduate were you 18, 17, 19? How old were you when you graduated?
I didn't graduate. I quit high school and I joined the Army.
Okay.
At age 18.
Right at 18. Okay. Yeah, it's such an impressionable age at that time. And, and of course, what was going on in the late 60s. Luke Engelhoff, before you joined the Army, what did you and your friends think about the war? And were you apprehensive about going? And I'm assuming to Vietnam. It would be
Well, at that particular time, Vietnam was there, but it wasn't there like it was when I went over, a year later. I just wanted to grow up, join the military, do my part, and hopefully go on with life.
Yeah. Luke Meinholtz wrote and asked the question, how many of your friends and people you grew up with went to Vietnam?
Well, a lot of kids I grew up with from high school that went. In fact, we had 3 of them from Oak Creek High School that got killed in Vietnam. In my immediate area where I grew up at, there was 6 of us that joined, different branches of the military.
And I mean, technology was very different then than it is today. And I'm just deviating off that. It's a little bit easier to stay connected with, friends and buddies that you had. Were you able to stay in contact with them, or y'all went your various ways?
All my guys that I grew up with that went in the military, we kind of went our own ways. But there's a place in South Milwaukee I used to hang out at called Betty's Chocolate Shop, which a lot of the kids hung out there at that time. It would be like, on happy days where everybody hung out at.
Yeah.
And when I got to Vietnam, of course, about once a month, I'd get 7, 8, 9-page letter from the people I grew up with writing a sentence or a paragraph or half a page. So we more or less stayed connected and see what was happening and checking on how I'm doing or if I needed anything. So
yeah,
and we stayed in touch.
So FaceTime back then was actual face-to-face time at a chocolate shop.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Moving into the Vietnam portion of the questions, another question from Leo Avil. What were some of your first assignments when you arrived in Vietnam?
Well, when I first arrived in Vietnam, I was attached to an ordnance outfit, which was like a big ammo dump and different types of artillery or bullets. So we'd have convoys that would come in and load the convoys, and they'd go and distribute the ordnance. That was my first job, but we were near an air base, and I always seen these choppers coming in and out. And of course, I love to fly, and uh, finally, after 1 year and 1 day, I did what they call a re-enlistment, and you get your choice of duty. So I went to the 173rd Assault Helicopter Company, alias the Robin Hoods, and started flying helicopters as a door gunner.
So you changed military occupational specialty in Vietnam?
Excuse me?
You changed your duty requirements in Vietnam?
Correct.
Wow. I didn't even know that. I'm sorry. That question was by Dan Buttry. Interesting. John Cretan, what kind of things would you like to do when you were on duty?
Well, our base camp was when we were located inside a rubber tree plantation. And then we had the airstrip, and then across the airstrip, we had this little village with 3 little bars in it. And so every 100 hours, we're down for maintenance. Got really nothing to do, check your weapons out, do this. And like any young kid, you get time, you're going to go and check out the village and see what's happening. So that's what we did.
You answered the question correctly. I asked it incorrectly. He did say when you were not on duty. So you did answer not on duty. And I apologize about that, both to John and to Gary. Fascinating. Yeah. Marco, Bruno, what kind of music did you listen to? So that may be just a continuation, but.
Well, yeah, rock and roll and, the good stuff, Beach Boys, Creedence. Creedence was good. And,
yeah.
Like I said, Chicago, Mamas and the Papas, all kinds of different groups.
And in country, in Vietnam and Southeast Asia, it was mostly radio, I would assume.
That's true. We didn't know what Zoom was or TV was, or
right.
So it's radio.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, the movie Good Morning Vietnam, I know it's somewhat mostly inaccurate, but I mean, it's just kind of the scenes of what they were trying to show of Vietnam and the radio.
Yeah, but every morning early, like say 6 a.m., we're taking off, and of course we'd have the radios on our choppers, and we had the military station. And what's the first thing we heard? Good morning, Vietnam. And
you would.
We kept the day going. You betcha.
Wow, I got goosebumps with that one. Of course, having seen the movie and then hearing that and how it punched through, so fascinating, very fascinating. James Noonan, did you always want to fly helicopters? And did any family members discourage this passion? So getting into
the inspiration for choppers was when I was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And understanding the work that they do, bringing food and supplies into these different little base camps. People getting wounded, you go in and try and get them out and get them quick to a medical station to save their lives. And then through the helicopter, there's more lives saved from people getting wounded because of the quick medical attention. So they call it the workhorse. It was, and I just like flying. I like being up there in the air.
Yeah. I know they had some helicopters in Korea, but not really.
Well, they modified, and I like at the choppers that I flew in Vietnam, where you're coming in like say on a gun run, and you're doing maybe 120 knots, and the chopper's shaking. Later on in life, in the mid '80s, I'm down in Arizona working for Hughes helicopter with the Apache, and that thing can go in reverse at 150 knots. So, how they've progressed. How man has progressed, killing man.
Yes. In the helicopter, I mean, from that standpoint. So Barrett Barger, Can you just describe the danger of serving as a door gunner on a Huey? And then there's a second part to that. Were you always aware of the risks that came with riding in one back then? So the risks and the can you
Well,
describe?
technically, at that time in Vietnam with the Huey, you could basically take them down on a slingshot if you hit them in the right area. Uh, did I know the risks? Yes, I did, because they were getting shot down a lot. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to, get into the helicopter, be a decent door gunner. And at that time, a lot of the gunners and crew chiefs were getting what they referred to as stick time. So you get a chance to fly a left seat, which I did. And I wanted to be a helicopter pilot, but I also looked on beyond that, get your one foot in the door. And then I wanted to fly fixed wing. I wanted to be a commercial airline pilot.
So the flying bug bit you.
Yeah, it did. It still does. And I mean, I could, be in the car, riding someplace, and I used to tell people there's a chopper coming. How do you know? I said there's one coming. And then about a minute later, here it comes. It's in your blood. It's in you. And then you look at and a lot of times too. A lot of the infantry, the grunts as we referred to, they'd get in a situation, we'd come in and get them out. They had a lot of respect for the chopper because they know what it could do.
Yes. Yeah. Edward Moreno, how did you mentally prepare yourself for combat? How did you, prepare pre-combat?
Well, like I said, I was a door gunner, but I also learned the chopper. It's like with my crew chief, Bart, he learned my job, I learned his job. So in case something did happen, we could get by. Um, as being prepared, I religiously clean my machine guns every day. I didn't just take and dip them in a solvent and hang them up. I took them apart and I cleaned them. So, and I always check my ammo. When you get your ammo, like in a belt, it's 200 rounds. Well, you take it all out, and one link might be here, one link like so you kind of straighten everything out. So, I tried to make sure everything was right for me, and my guns not only depended on me, but also the people I'm flying with. So you just try, like you do your job and you do it the best you can.
You know, I mean, I can enhance on that question a little bit only because what you just described, I don't think it's pre-combat checks. It's making sure all your equipment is squared away and good to go. It's really taking ownership in your job is what you were just describing. And I don't
Well,
know.
you mentioned the word combat and people going into combat. And, of course, you got all these young people that we're talking with. If they'd only realize what happens on in a combat situation where you've got men yelling for their mamas, for their daddies, for their girlfriends. Do you get prepared for that? No, you don't. But you deal with it, and life goes on. And you're a soldier, and you try and do the best that you can. So, as getting prepared for combat, you do, but it's horrific. So I try not to dwell too much on combat because it's not fun.
Yeah, but doing your job and being prepared to do it and the equipment and your weapon
Oh,
and the
that's it.
ammo
That's it.
as you
Yeah,
described. Yeah,
being prepared. You're right.
that's right. Yeah, that's a great life lesson in anything. Driving a car, making sure the tires are the PSI is at the right level, the fuel's in, all that. It's a similar crossover. I mean, it's different because you're talking a combat zone versus, but it's just taking that time and detail
Well, you
into.
mentioned everybody being prepared, just like the students we're talking with today. They have tests coming up. You study, you prepare for what's about to happen, and you try and do the best you can. And the thing is that when the teachers, you're in a classroom and they're talking about this, talking about that. And if you don't understand, raise your hand. Hey, here I am. But a lot of kids, because nobody else is raising their hand, they don't want to raise theirs. Well, if you need help, that's what they're there for, to help you get prepared.
Yeah. Teamwork. Irvin Hernandez, what did you look forward to the most when you were returning home?
I did 2 tours in Vietnam. And first time I came home, we landed in California, went through clearance and all that, and we're at the airport. And here's a restaurant, and the waitress, she came to me. She said, "Well, soldier, what'd you like?" I said, "I'd like a nice big malt glass of real milk." Because over in Vietnam, we got that recombined stuff, and it's not milk. And I said, "I want a nice cheeseburger with French fries." But I said, "Bring the milk right now." So she brought the big, glass of milk, and I just put, that was seventh heaven. I said, "I'll have another one of these and my cheeseburger." So that was my first meal, and I to this day, 50 years, and I still remember it, and it tasted so good.
You said something, and I just want to make sure that the students understand what you just said. You did multiple deployments to Vietnam.
Well, I did a tour duty at that time was 1 year.
Yes.
And I guess deployments today are like 4 or 6 months, something like that. I don't think they're a year, but yeah, I did. Reason I did 2 tours because I extended my tour. I wanted to get more flying time before I went to flight school, and that's why I did that.
Yes. And I don't think many people understand that multiple tours were pretty rare. So we're at about 12 after, and we've got just another 10, 15 minutes. I want to make sure that we can get to these questions, because this is where we go into the Medal of Honor section, Gary. And of course, that's what today, and this is your story and who you are as Medal of Honor recipient. What was your first thought when it was announced you would receive the Medal of Honor? And that's by Roberto Segura. Asked that question.
Well, I'm out of the military. I'm working at a company. Um, I turned 21 September 29th. So for my birthday, I bought me a brand new Corvette, and I didn't get the medal till November. And but here you are blending society. You're working. You got a nice car, and then I'm at work, and here comes a major and a sergeant major in dress blues. So I would go down to the office, and they introduce themselves. "Hi, how you doing?" And they congratulated me, and had no idea what was happening. And then later on, found out I'm gonna go and get this blue ribbon here, which if people understand, 9 out of 10 times you receive it posthumously. And when I say posthumously, the word is you're not here. Your family accepts the medal for you. So for me, being alive, and it was a trip, man. It was a trip. It still is. Here it is. 50 some years later, I got this blue ribbon around my neck. But people got to realize that I wear it for everybody. It's not just for me. I'm just a caretaker. And then when I go, it doesn't go to my family. It goes to the Wisconsin Military Museum, and I figure that's where it belongs. So being lucky, yeah, I'm grateful every time I put this on. I'm in awe of what it is and what it stands for. So I'm grateful.
So that you touch on that, some of the next question, but it's kind of just a continuation. Xavier Crawford asked, what was it like when you received the Medal of Honor, and does it play a huge part in your life today?
Well, it does. I mean, like, I'm here today because of Medal of Honor Day, trying to talk to these young people out there and say, "Hello, how you doing?" and do the best that you can. And if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. So I'm still in awe of it, what it stands for. Like I said, I'm just and grateful. I mean, when who thinks you're going to be in front of the president of the United States at the White House when they put this blue ribbon around your neck? It's like, it's I'm still grateful. I'm very grateful.
You dovetailed into the next question, which was by Andrew Ullman. Who gave you the Medal of Honor and where did you receive it? So can you expound on that ceremony a little bit and describe that?
At that time, President Johnson was the president. We were at the White House, and the White House has got different. We were in what they refer to as the East Room of the White House. And but right before that, of course, there's 5 of us that got the medal that day. So we're in a special room, and we're having coffee and crumpets and whatever they have there. And somebody's telling us how to answer the president and how to speak, and he's going to look at you, you're going to look at him, and you show him you've got guts and things like that. And we're like, yeah, right, sure. And then who comes walking in the room? The president of the United States. Sits down on the couch right next to me, puts his hand on my thigh, hits it a couple times. How you doing, son? And I'm like, hi, Mr. President, But it was awe just to be there, and you're in the White House, and like I said, to wear this, I don't know why they picked me, but I guess the guy said I did this, I did that, and whatever. And in all honesty, at that time when I'm getting the Medal of Honor, I really didn't know why I was getting it. So here you are standing in front of the President of the United States. Here's Secretary of Defense Stanley Reeder reading off the citation, and I'm standing there, straight as an arrow, and he's reading off the citation, and I'm like, no, yeah, no, they forgot, they left all the blood and guts out, but then I finally found out what I was getting the Medal of Honor for. So, just a soldier doing his job, there, pal.
So the final few questions here, Gary, are reflective of today. So, so I guess it could be, looking back and reflecting from today's perspective. So Jack Sheehy wrote, if you could go back and give 18-year-old Gary Wetzel one piece of advice to live by, what would it be? And do you have any regrets or anything that you would change?
Well, if you're looking back to 18, which we can, or I can, now you guys are too young yet. I would say education. Try and get as much education as you can, and try and learn a little bit about life. And you look at the military today; it's not meant for everybody, but there are so many programs today that young people, him or her, can do. That when they get done with their duty, it will transition with them in civilian life. And during that period, 18, 19, 20, you're growing up, you're getting more mature than, say, the guys that aren't in the military. So it's a process, it's a decision only you can make. And at times it's a good choice, at times not a bad choice. You're the only one that can do that and find out. But I talk to kids all the time, and we look in the classroom and I point to the American flag, like the one right behind me here. And they'll shake their head, they know what it is. Yeah, it's American flag, but you don't know it. I said, what you should do is once in a while take time out, not only look at that flag, but look into that flag and try and understand sacrifices and ultimate sacrifices men and women have given you and I to be here. So sure, we use that word freedom, but think about it. There's a price. There's a price.
And Jack did have a little bit of a follow-on. Have you ever thought what life would have been had you not joined the Army? So kind of one of those diversionary path questions, like had you
Well, I don't know. I worked construction before I went in, so I probably would have worked in the construction phase, heavy equipment, things like that, pulling levers, doing this, because I like working outside. So that probably would have been my career.
Yeah. Isaiah Ruby wrote, what is something that you've done that seemed impossible, but made you a stronger person in the aftermath?
I guess we look at life, or like sometimes when I go to the VA hospital to talk with vets, look at vets, and instill a little dignity and pride into who they are, and or even like now, like when I'm at a gas station, getting gas, and I see a young man holding a baby, and he'll say, "Are you Mr. Wetzel?" I'll say, "Yeah," and I say, "Well, who are you?" "Well, you spoke to my class 10 years ago." I said, "Did I do a good job?" He says, "Yeah." So you look at life and try and do the best you can, and you'll get impacts like that. I guess that's what it's all about. And I'm still working and lecturing and trying to help people out.
Yeah. And obviously COVID has had a lot of restrictions on what we can do in person. So again, there's a few more questions here, but again, another emphasis of thanking you for being here today. So we could do this virtually and continue that legacy, Gary, of what you do in impacting, young men and women's lives with who you are and your story. It's so Gus Kazem asked, what are some good memories that you have of your military experience?
Well, one thing for surviving, just kidding.
Yeah.
Meaning, at different areas where you're at in Vietnam, making new friends at that time. And then when you come back here, and of course through the telephone, communicate and whatever, and I guess looking at life, trying to make friends or meet new friends, and that's what it's all about.
So the interaction, a good memory with the fellow.
Oh yeah, and uh, that's why we at that time had the telephone. Now we've got these phones where you can look at people and whatever, and I think it's called a smartphone, but it's I'm still a black and white guy.
Yeah. Joey Ament, what was the atmosphere of America after the Vietnam War? What was the what did
Well,
what,
when
what
you
did you come
say
home to?
atmosphere after the war, when we were trying to get all of our people out, which was April. Last one off the embassy was April 30th, 75, and the war was over. And and I seen what war can do. Damage people, kill people. So I guess that part, I was happy that it was over. The next phase would be now, don't judge who they are. And I tell people, you know, you don't judge the warrior with the war. I mean, we fought for the same flag that they did 100 years ago. So respect him or her. And if you know that he or she's a vet, once in a while say, hey, thank you. And it's really appreciated. I know when people see me and, with the one arm and thank you. And I'm grateful and I'm happy for that.
Thomas Stubbs, did life feel easier or harder when you came back home after the war? And did this feeling change after a while? So,
Well, for me, I'm coming back, of course, with the loss of the arm and trying to adjust in life. And it takes about 3 years from the loss of a limb to where you do things that come natural or whatever. I remember at times, trying to reach for something, and then you get about halfway there. It's like, oops, Gary, you only got one hand. How are you going to pick that up? But I would figure out a way to do it. Probably a little bit more stubborn than the average guy because I don't quit. I got to get the job done or do the best that I can. So trying to just, I guess, coming back and adjusting to life, and getting employment, getting a job, trying to get pride of who I am, and if the guy that's whole can do the job, well, so can I. I just do it different.
yeah. Well, I mean, trying to create some form of normalcy when we come home, right?
Well, it's I guess for normal people, yeah, but for when you lose a limb, I guess it's hard to adjust, or you make it adjust, or you make it happen.
Yeah. Bodhi Kumanch said, did your friendships last with your fellow soldiers from your time in service and time in Vietnam?
Well, guys that I flew with were basically independent. I mean, I know other gunners from different choppers, but my best friend there at the time was Timmy, my pilot, and my crew chief, Bart, because we did a lot of stuff together. And in fact, Tim and I, we got shot down 3 times together. And as what you do is once after you're there for a while, you want to know a guy, but you don't want to know him that well. And the reason I say that because when a good friend gets killed, it hurts too much. So you just kind of want to know the basics. That's it. That's all I want to know. I don't want to know no more. And you go on and do what you got to do.
Yeah. But the closeness, the bond, the brotherhood, the sisterhood. So, and then the last from Andrew, this wasn't a question, Andrew Ullman, and I do have a couple of questions that have come in through chat, and we just have a few more minutes, but I just want to make sure that thank you for the sacrifice you made for our country. So it's a thank you. It's not a question from Andrew. So what I'd like to do is other questions have been coming in, Gary. We just have a few more minutes, and as we said, so everybody understands, at the conclusion of this, we're going to continue. We're going to do a video recording of Gary responding to some other questions, but just with the few minutes that remain, this one goes back to they were really focused on your helicopter experience, and it said what requirements had to be fulfilled in order to pilot a helicopter. So they're kind of going back to that phase in that question. They're curious on what you had to do to be able to get into the plane, get into the not the plane, the helicopter.
I mean, you've got Chopper. You got 2 pilots in front that flew the ship, and they both got the same instruments as one of them, but one's the aircraft commander, and the other one's what we call Peter Pilot. And then behind them, a little indentation back there, you have what we call gunwales, and that's where we had the 60s. So, we're really no big job of getting in and out of an open area. It's just simple.
Yeah.
Not that hard.
Yeah. And then, what did war make you believe in after having witnessed what you did? So it was more of a kind of like, how did it change you, but also did it change your perspective, your outlook on life, Gary?
Well, at a young age, going over to Vietnam, I was proud because I'm, taking part in my country to give another nation a little boot in the butt to kind of get started. So I was proud of that. Then after you're there for a while, and you see the atrocities of war. I mean, what war can do. It's just the killing, the maiming. I guess it makes you appreciate life more. But it also appreciated me that once I'm done here, good, I'm going back to a free nation where I can be who I am and do what I want to do and not be dictated to. So yeah, a couple different steps there that you do.
Well, we're getting a number of compliments coming in. We're within the minute of conclusion here, Gary. Outstanding event, amazing, great questions, students. We're getting that from those who are listening in. So just in say a minute to wrap, any final words of wisdom for these juniors and these seniors who have taken today to participate and interact with you, Gary?
Well, to these young people, always look at that flag, but look into the flag. There's a price that's paid, and America isn't red, white, and blue. It's a lot of different ethnicities, black, brown, white, yellow, whatever. But it's all part of us being together, and that's why it's called the United States. To work together, and don't tear her apart. Try and build her up, and we have the right because we are a free nation. So, and you're all in school, and some look at school like, oh, geez, I'm here, but here I am, 73. And there's still education out there. So, and if you need help, raise your hand and get help either from the teacher or some of the other fellow students that you're with, and make the best of it. What I do to start my day off, and this is true. Every morning I get up and you come down the hallway and you go to that little room there where there's a mirror and whatever. So I look in that mirror and I say, "Morning, pal." And even once in a while, when my sister's up from Arizona, she's in the kitchen having coffee, or she, "Who are you talking to?" I says, "Me." "You?" I said, "Yeah, I like me." So, you got to like you first and start the day off. And people think you're crazy and stuff, but it's like, "Morning." I mean, and if that's the person you want to help, give it a shot. I mean, heck, I'm not perfect, but I try and make the best of it. And even though I have a damaged body, and Dan knows, I still ride a motorcycle and do the
Yeah.
best we can. And I got one arm, and people be looking like in the summer months, got a T-shirt on. "How you riding that bike?" I just kind of look at them, say, "Me and God, why?" So, but life is what you make it. Make the best of it. It's your future, just like it is mine, because I'm not ready to cash in yet. Okay.
Yep.
And hopefully someday down the street, if you see a chubby old guy with one arm and it's Mr. Wetzel, come and say hi, and I'll say hi to you. Okay. So
Well, I have a feeling the bell may have rung in the classroom. We're just right at the time. So Gary Wetzel, thank you so much on behalf of the War Memorial and everybody who's participated. It's an honor, and thank you again, sir.
you're welcome. Thank you kindly.
All right. And we'll be signing off. Thank you so much for joining us for National Medal of Honor Day.